Aquí estoy entrando a las cuevas de Mounds. Este es el caminito. Cave of the Mounds se llama. Ahí en la oficina aparece el recibimiento donde uno paga. Donde uno paga. Cave of the Mounds. Visitor Center. Saludos mi gente. Hoy voy a grabar desde Cave of the Mounds en Wisconsin, en el área de, creo que se llama Madison. Madison creo que se llama el área. Pero si quiere venir para acá, lo busca en internet y lo trae. Y lo trae Google Maps, digo, sí, el GPS. Y tiene la información. Paga la entrada $23.99, tienen un guía. Y ya mismo vamos a coger el tour. Por aquí hay una agua que parece que baja de la montaña. La canalizaron aquí en madera. Mire que nice. Debe estar fríita. No, está buena. Está buena. Está tibiecita. Ya saben, Cave on the Mountain. Ahí le voy a poner. Ahí donde los reciben. Y le venden las taquillas. Ahí. Está muy bonito. La temperatura está como en los 70 grados. Está perfecto. Aquí estoy donde reciben en Cave of the Mountain. Ahí hay fotos. Me imagino de los primeros que... Ya, mira. Esto era de cuando entraban hace años. Esto es de piedra caliza. Una cueva, mira aquí está. Ven in the world, un sample, este tipo de piedra. Ven. Piedra caliza. Te venden estas piedras nada más y nada menos que $34.99. Entonces aquí hay como un horno. Será para proceder las piedras. I don't know. Mira, esto es un penny fisher. Te coge los pennies y los dobla como un souvenir. Qué chévere. Voy a hacer un penny fisher. Digo, si tengo el menú de ave. Aquí sigo cogiendo. Tengo que salir ahora porque nos van a dar el tour. El tour. Aquí estamos dentro de la cueva. Está a 50 grados. Mira qué chévere. 50 grados aquí dentro. Yo estoy en t-shirt.
Large stalagmites here.
Pero no siento
You'll notice
frío.
that they're all kind of lined up in a row. You'll notice also up on the ceiling, there's a crack in the ceiling. It's called a fissure. The fissure is where the water came in to form the cave.
Oh, okay.
So that's why these stalagmites are lined up directly underneath that.
Yeah.
The water that's dripping is dissolving some of the limestone. As it drips, it starts piling those minerals up into stacks. That's a stalagmite. And that's our,
What's this crack?
this crack, the stalagmites were forming thousands of years ago. It takes a long, long period of time. On average, we're looking at about 1 centimeter of growth in our formations per century. So these are growing and getting bigger and stronger. Well, at the same time, there's more water in the cave. There's water underneath it that was kind of twisting and winding and essentially carving itself a little underground stream. So essentially, these are getting bigger and stronger and heavier. The stuff underneath was getting eroded away. And some point, way back in the past, there must have been enough that it wasn't able to support it. There may have been some sort of some sort of an earthquake or something, who knows. The Midwest, there's not a lot of active geologic fault lines around here. There are some all over the place, but we're talking thousands of years ago. So yeah, at some point it most likely just wasn't able to support it. And a lot of it cracked. You'll see a big crack along there. You can see it kind of runs along here. But these big rock chunks, they've been sitting there so long, there has been more water, more minerals flowing over the top of them, essentially creating more stone.
Yeah.
So it's nothing new. Long, slow process. Hang on, right here, I'm going to go turn my lights on and I'll come back and show you the largest fossil in the cave. It's up on the ceiling there. Over to my light switches here, turn these on, turn that one off. Again, back here is where we're going to stop and see this fossil, my friends. Yep, let me come back this way. Largest fossil in the cave is this one up on the ceiling. It's called a cephalopod. Right there is a long cone-shaped rock. It starts right here, goes over to there. It's about as tall as we are, roughly 6 feet long. Was a seashell. Cephalopod was the creature. It was like a seashell that an ancestor, a large squid, would have worn on his head. When he died, he fell down to the bottom of the ocean, the Ordovician Sea. So that creature was alive probably around 450 million years ago. Died, fell down to the bottom of the ocean. His seashell got buried in the sand and the mud and whatever's at the bottom. If it had gotten smashed, ground up, heat, time, and pressure turns it into limestone, which is the bedrock. This particular one got protected, held its shape, heat, time, and pressure, still turns into a fossil, or excuse me, still turns into a rock, but it holds that shape, so that's what a fossil is. And that's the largest one in our cave. It's about 6 feet long.
Okay, I'm gonna follow you.
There's kind of a cartoon rendering of what the creature may have looked like. Something similar to that. This cephalopod fossil was donated to us a couple of years ago. A friend of ours found this in a quarry, opened this rock up and thought it was very impressive, so he actually donated it to us. These information boards, I always point out to people that these can all be found on our website.
Yeah.
So like later on when you're above ground, if you go to caveofthemounds.com, you can read all these information boards. Plus we do offer them in multiple different languages.
Okay.
So if you want to check them out, there might be some that you might enjoy.
All right.
Okay. Want to keep going? All right. Let me come over by my light switches here. Most of the way through, we're around 30 to 40 feet or so below the surface. Deepest section is this part here. We're going to go down. It's essentially underneath the part that we just walked on. This is the deepest part of the tour. Down at the bottom of this, we will be in the neighborhood of about 70 feet below the surface. This portion, I guess she wants to go first. Here, let me go up ahead of you here. Yeah. This portion was formed, like I mentioned, when the water that was in the cave was physically running out and essentially creating itself a little underground stream as the water twisted and wined and eroded its path through the cave. We are following the natural flow of the cave as much as possible. The developers did make the pathways a little wider for us in certain areas. You can see how this rock was kind of straightened a little bit. But really with the exception of about a doorway's width all the way through, everything else that you see is completely natural. Oops.
Ya está, es más profundo.
70 pies debajo de la tierra. Debajo de aquí.
Estoy yendo así, por el ladito.
Wow.
A little bit of water pool down here. It's a little stream that turns into a stream when we've had more water outside. There's always a little bit of water flowing down around here when we get more, for example, more rain outside. Then there's more movement in our water flows. And then we'll go back up this way right here.
Ahora vamos subiendo.
So here's where we started, and this is the only way in and out of the cave, so we will end up here. It's a bit of a figure-8 loop.
Yeah.
We went down through the south cave to start our trip today.
Yeah.
We're gonna head the opposite direction now, from south to north. We call this the North Cave. This is the largest room in our cave. A lot of information, a lot of neat things to look at down here.
Oh, how come this is flat?
This is the floor of the platform that we were standing on when we first came in.
Oh, okay.
We are directly underneath it. It is concrete, just in order to make the platform like a walking platform over.
Oh, look at that.
No, that's a cave.
Oh, that's electrical cords.
Ahí cogerás arañas si quieres.
Largest room in our cave is the North Cave. This area, the North Cave.
There's a fissure right there.
Yes, that is a fissure, correct, right above us. It's a large room because we actually have two separate fissures in this room. When we came in and headed down through the south cave, there was the fissure, the crack in the ceiling that went that direction. That's where the water came in to form the cave. That fissure, right up above our heads, it curves and it hits a second fissure. The second one goes from this corner here up towards the stairs and around that way. So two separate fissures, one there and one here, means we did probably thousands and thousands of years ago, it was probably two separate caves. Eventually, as these cracks were spreading, and here's where the cracks intersect.
Yeah.
So because there's more cracks in the ceiling, there would be more water coming through. More water would be more erosion. Turn it, instead of two small caves beside each other, to one large cave. There's a wall right here that goes up, and then it starts stair-stepping up. If you use your imagination, this wall would have most likely gone straight over that direction to separate the two areas many, many thousands of years ago. Excuse me. This corner up here that you were first looking at does have a little different kind of a formation up there. That stuff up on the ceiling, it looks a bit like tree roots in my opinion.
Yeah.
These are stalactites, are referred to as ribbons. It's when the water coming in is running down the wall. If the water is just dripping off the ceiling, when it drips, it leaves little rings of minerals. Those little rings connect, ring, 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 they make a little hollow tube. That's called a soda straw. And as those get longer, the hole in the end seals shut, and then they look like icicles. It's like you can see some little mini ones on the ceiling right up in this area here.
Yeah.
That's that style, and that's normally what I personally would think about a stalactite looking like.
Yeah.
But up here, as I mentioned, the water's running down the wall. Water takes the easy route.
Yeah.
It's easier to run down the wall. It leaves a trail of minerals behind. That trail builds up. When they're shorties like this, these are referred to as ribbons. But they also have a nickname because someone was in a cave sometime. I don't know who, when, where. They were in a cave and they looked at stuff that looked like that. And it reminded them of breakfast. They started calling it cave bacon. A lot of people enjoy bacon, so that's the nickname that stuck. So cave bacon are those formations.
Looks like more like a ribbon to me, but
Yeah, you know, different strokes, right? The one on the left, you can see the stripes of colors, probably is the most bacon-ish color, just because of the colors. Colors are minerals. Rocks, like a cave is made of limestone, that's a rock. Rocks are made of minerals. The primary mineral that is in limestone is calcite. So calcite is the white colored stuff.
Yeah.
That's essentially what the formations are made of. The stalactites, the stalagmites, etc. Primarily calcite. That blackish gray color is another mineral. It's called manganese. Manganese. That's one of the two main colors we see here. We'll also see some iron as we get along further. Iron oxide, like rust, kind of brownish red color.
yeah.
And then our hill here, this is flowstone. Flowstone is kind of like a stalagmite, but it's all spread out. The water is essentially flowing down the hill.
Yeah.
The stalagmites, the big tall towers like we walked past, the water's just dripping on the same spot. Every drip puts some minerals, you stack your minerals into a pile. Flowstone is similar, but the water's running down the hill. So instead of stacking the minerals into a big pile, they're all spread out into a big sheet as it runs down the hill.
It looks slimy.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah, it's hard all the way up.
Oh, okay.
Little kids always want to go sliding down it. Would be not a good slide, it'd be a bad slide. As the water's flowing, those minerals grab each other. It's almost a little more crystal-ish. It's like sandpaper, basically. Very, very fine sandpaper. Would not be a good slide. But it does look slimy or gooey. I hear lots of food references, like ice cream and applesauce and
Glaze.
gravies, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. It looks like gravy. All right.
Any questions on anything or comments? Or
Any questions?
want to keep going? Let's keep going.
Let's go.
South cave, we call this the north cave. We go up the stairs and take a right. That direction is east, so we call that the east cave.
Okay.
lights off as we go. This is also called the painted waterfall. It gets a little more colorful. Again, the white is calcite, the blackish gray is manganese. Here we will start to see the orangish, reddish, brown color. That comes from iron. So it's like iron oxide, like similar to rust, basically. Lots of colors here. And if you folks want to just wait right here, I'll go down to the end of my handrail and I'll turn this light on so you can see it a little better.
Okay, I can see the colors.
Okay. Tirando agua.
There you go.
There, look at the different colors, you see? That's iron. That's pretty.
Isn't that neat?
Yes.
Excuse me.
You got the earthy neutral tone.
Isn't it? It's beautiful, isn't it? I love it, yeah. Painted waterfall because of all those colors. So again, the brownish, reddish, orange color is from iron oxide, like rust, basically.
Wow.
Do you see the different colors? I think I like this.
We've got another tour that will be exiting. They're going to be coming out of this hallway here, and they're going to go this direction.
Okay.
We'll just let them go right past us and get out of our way. And I'll show you some other fun formations here. Sounds like they're right here, though, so there's a lot to go.
You want me to pause it? Lo pauso, Pai, porque viene alguien. Viene un grupo, sí.
There's no food down here. Now we do have creatures that live right down here in the water. These little creatures are called springtails. They're a bit like little tiny insects that live in nature. They come down with the cracks. They're living in the water. Living creatures need to eat. These are so small that they eat bacteria. We can sometimes see them on the surface. They look like little white specks. Can you see these little
Yep, I
white
can
specks
see
that are
that.
just floating right there?
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, several of them right in front of us here. They're kind of sitting on the surface of the water. They use their tails like a little spring. Every once in a while you'll see one jump just a little bit.
Oh, I think I just saw
These
something.
are the only creatures that we found that can survive in the cave because
okay.
they have found something to eat. They live in nature naturally, above ground, below ground, etc. Over on our information board, if you're interested, here's a microscope view of what they would look like. Kind of a little white bug, a little white critter. That's the only thing that we found that can survive down here. And if you go, I mentioned our website, caveofthemounds.com. There's a lot of information, the information boards, etc. We have a blog section on there. And in the blog, we have a little write-up about some, so if you want to read some more, but there's also a couple more photographs and even a couple of videos.
Okay.
We got a little microscope video camera that we were able to get some pictures of them.
Oh, look at that.
If you're interested.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and that nature here. A lot of people like the east part of the cave, this portion a little better than that part, because it's not as old. So we're real close to a lot of formations, and there's a lot of neat colors and things going on through here.
So we're on the east right now, yes?
This direction is going east, yes. Yeah, from where we started. Get those lights, we'll head over that way. Yeah, we got real creative with our names. We call it the South Cave, the North Cave, the East Cave. Very creative, right? There we go. This is our cathedral room. Many stalactites.
Mira, qué bonito.
Most caves, I think every cave that I personally have been in has had some sort of a church room or something along those lines. Cathedral room would be ours.
What's in here?
We're going to come out that direction later on.
Oh, okay.
It's a tunnel.
Muchas estalactitas.
Hmm?
Muchas estalactitas.
Now, many formations down here are broken, as you see.
I
This is
noticed
how we found the cave in 1939. There
Wow.
had never been any people down here before that, so this was all natural. The scientists explained it. They said, well, all that was ever down here was rocks and water.
Yeah.
So they said sometime in the past, probably several hundreds, thousands of years ago, lots of water down here, and moving water would have like a current, a force.
Yeah.
It would be able to shove debris around. So that's where the rocks come in. So if there's a whole lot of water down here splashing around and it's shoving rocks around, the rocks would bounce off things. The easiest pieces to break would be the stalactites, because those are the newest, so they're the most fragile.
Okay.
Their evidence of this theory is this stretch down through here, which is just littered with lots and lots and lots of little broken bits of stalactites. Some big ones, some small ones. There's even a cluster here, a chunk, a chandelier. It's a group of stalactites. Most likely fell off the ceiling over there somewhere. Something knocked it hit, and it sort of tumbled. And it's pointing upright. We know they started on the ceiling, though, and got knocked off, because you can see some broken ones, and they have holes in the center. And the stalactites start as the little hollow tubes called soda straws with the water drip, 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 leaving little rings. You can see some others right here in front of you. I'll just use it. Like right in here, you can see some that have the holes in them that are broken. Or up on the ceiling up high, you can see several also through that area that all have broken with the holes in them.
Yeah. That one looks like a walnut.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Are you getting hungry?
No. It looked like.
And then the piece, so this was broken stalactite, it's a cluster of stalactites. This one right here is a stalagmite growing on top of the broken stalactites. And we call her Polly the parrot. She's been kind of our,
Oh, she
our
kind of
little,
does look like a
little
parrot.
mascot down here.
I
We
can
don't
see.
have any real animals, so we need to name that one.
Yeah.
So that's Polly.
It looks like, look at the tail.
Kind of her head and her little body here. I hear a lot of kids, we do a lot of field, like school field trips. I hear seashell a lot by some of the kids. But
Oh, I can
some
see
of them
that.
are real creative. I don't know, different imaginations. All right, we will continue. My favorite stretch of the cave. And because we're not very creative with our names, we call this part the Narrows. This black stripe on the floor, I measured it. It takes me about 20 steps to get through. Step number 15 is where it will get a little bit narrow. It's going to be slightly narrower than our shoulders. All that means is you can't walk straight ahead. You're just going to have to turn sideways for about 2 steps until you get past this one little rock.
Okay.
And then it will open up into a fun little room just on the other side. And this is my favorite part of the cave every time. So we're ready to go in? Let's go through the Narrows, friends. It opens up into a fun little room just on the other side of this.
Wow.
That's the little narrow stretch there. No problem fitting through.
You got it.
Good. I've never had anybody physically not be able to make it through. I've had some big people too.
Yeah.
So. There's another stretch here too, those little springtails. If you look back through this stretch at the water, you can see lots of little white specks that are sitting on the surface there also. Lots of springtails in that area there. You can see just the looks like little white specks sitting on there.
That's pretty right here.
Isn't this neat? Yeah. And I love how the sound changes. It gets all echoey and stuff as we go through. It's called a developed cave, which means we have lights and these concrete pathways. It's easy to walk through in and out. The folks putting these pathways in followed the natural flow of the cave as much as possible in order to create, leave as much untouched as possible. That last stretch was called the Narrows because it got very narrow. You'll see looking ahead over this direction that the cave gets even smaller. Essentially, it's so small that they couldn't put a pathway through there, because if they cut like a doorway's worth for people to walk through, there would be no cave left to see. So they got a little creative. Well, first of all, before I go too far ahead, I love this formation right here. Stalactite and a stalagmite. The stalactite is getting longer, the stalagmite is getting taller. When they connect like that, it's referred to as a column, or some people call them a pillar. Column is a general term. This particular one, I had some kids a couple years ago with little field trips, and little kids described that as our chocolate fountain. So that's been my favorite description of that one ever since. So anyway, the narrow path, you can see there's no room to put a pathway in. The cave continues this way for a long distance. So the people putting the path in decided that the best way to continue would be if we actually leave the cave. So this is no longer cave over here, this is man-made. Caves are natural, natural hole in the earth, big enough for at least one person. That's a definition of a cave. So this is the cave. Man-made portion over here is a tunnel that runs parallel to the cave. Just around the corner, they cut like a big window in the side of the cave so we could look in. In fact, there's two of them side by side. So we exit the cave, go into the east tunnel, and then we can look further down into the cave, down here. Two windows, we call this the beauty rooms. Two separate ones.
Wow.
This right-hand window was opened up in 1946. We found the cave in 1939. We opened up in 1940. Took some time for them to expand, etc. 1946 is when this section was opened up. Those little bumpy stalagmites in front of you are referred to as beehives. I've lots of good descriptions of those also. Corn cobs was one of my favorite.
Yeah, that looks like
corn cobs.
Look at those cutters.
Pine cones, I hear that one regularly also. This window opened in 1946. 2 years later, for this section to get opened up, 1948. 1948 was Wisconsin's 100th anniversary of statehood, so this is called our Centennial Room in honor of that. It took a long time for this tunnel to be built because it was all done with manual tools, manual labor. We didn't just come down and blow up a bunch of dynamite because we didn't want to blow up the cave. Instead, it was large drills. These are drill marks. You can see several of them pointing towards the cave. You can see them on the back walls. So essentially large drills, pound metal spikes in, the rock breaks, then you start cleaning it up with your hammers and picks and shovels and such. So that's one of the reasons that it took so long to go through here.
Oh, it's even deeper in there.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, we found the cave in 1939, opened in 1940. It was 8 years, 1948, before this section was opened. The tunnel continues. It was another 9 years before the tunnel was completed, so it was 1957. Cave continues this way. The tunnel goes down and takes a right. We'll come to a T intersection, a dead end. We'll show you around down there, and then I'll give you a little light demonstration that's always kind of fun. There we go. So they were digging down through to build more tunnel. We got down this far, and we came around this corner here. First thing that happened when we came around the corner is we discovered another cave.
Oh.
A cave has to be formed by nature, hole in the earth, and large enough for at least a single person. But people come in all sizes and shapes. A very small person, like a baby, you could have a baby party. Right? So they were surprised to discover another cave. This is referred to as Surprise Cave. There's part of it. There's a crack above our heads here. The fissure was where the water came in to form Surprise Cave. And the rest of Surprise Cave is that little hole over there by our feet. So this cave went kind of across right through here. They didn't know it was here. And they built this tunnel right through the middle of it. So they destroyed this whole center section of Surprise Cave. They just left the two little bits at the either end. But Surprise Cave is not Cave of the Mounds. It's not any part of Cave of the Mounds. We just happened to dig a tunnel into it. So we had to dig some more tunnel. We had to dig more tunnel to get over here. This is Cave of the Mounds again. So you're actually seeing two separate caves. Cave of the Mounds is the large cave. Surprise Cave is the little mini cave over there. That's the direction that we came from.
Oh, where I said, oh, that keeps on going.
Yeah, we were down there looking this way. Now we're on the other end looking that way. This is called diamond stalactite here. You should go up there and look at it. It's really neat. I love the colors on it. The bumpy stuff on the ground is referred to as cave popcorn. In our case, it's all black because it has lots of manganese in it. Getting at that color. It's a gorgeous dome right above your head. Some beautiful colors as the water's dripping down, leaving some flowstone. Lots of water dripping there. This is called Dream River. Dream River goes down about 250 feet, which would be about 3/4 of a football field since we're going into football season here. Just kind of goes down. You can see some neat reflections. The reflections, the water is a tool that cave explorers will use because sometimes that's the only way you can see into certain areas is just by looking and getting reflections of what's down there. But you can see there's some neat formations on the ceiling by looking at the reflections of them there.
Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And that's our Dream River.
With the reflections on there.
I'd like to give a light demonstration also. So I'll have the two of you stand here. And I'm going to have you look at the two walls here. And I'll come over and turn some light switches on. When you purchased your tickets, excuse me, they asked if you wanted to rent a black light. Many of the formations in our cave are fluorescent. Here's a demonstration of what that means. So if you watch the wall there, here is the ultraviolet light. Now it's easier to see if I turn the big lights off. So I'll shut the big lights off. We will just be looking at fluorescence. Count of 3, 2, 1. It'll work better if you don't have your light on your phone because you're kind of flashing over the top of a lot of that. So this was all man-made. It is a tunnel. This wooden box, I'll show you from this other angle, we can see it a little better. When they were building the tunnel, they needed to remove all of this limestone, all of the debris. So instead of coming through the way we came and carrying all the rock out, they started up on the surface and drilled a hole down, like a mine shaft, if you will. So that box is covering up a hole that goes all the way up to the surface.
Oh, I see.
The top of it is covered by a little box also. So they started on the surface and they drilled a hole down, and then as they built their tunnel, each direction, they were able to lower large buckets and fill them up with debris and haul it straight up and out of there. And that's the bottom of our mine shaft. And then we go around the corner.
Bueno, ya el tour se terminó. Estamos virando para atrás.
Back into the cave. Remember when we were here before and you had asked about that section? Yeah, now you know. So it's a bit of a figure 8 loop. So we went down to the south end first, kind of went back towards the beginning, and we went all the way to the east side. Now we're going to work our way back towards the beginning again.
Recuerden suscribirse, dar like y compartir. Esto se acabó. Y visitar King of the Mounds en Wisconsin.